Disclaimer: the following video is an accurate description of a disturbing crime in explicit detail. Please, if you are sensitive to disturbing content and or get easily triggered, please do not watch this. Thank you. Hey guys, I just wanted to bring you this quick update video about Emma Jane Magson. She has actually been convicted again, so I'm just going to give you this quick update. And then next week's video is going to be a good one, so make sure you're watching out for that. That will be all to do with missing children, so it should be quite interesting, but also quite disturbing as well, so make sure you tune for that. But anyway, let's get into it. Emma Jane Magson was jailed again after murdering boyfriend in Row. Emma Jane Magson, as you can see in the middle, now 28, pictured with her mother and daughter, has been in prison since November 2016. A woman who stabbed her boyfriend to death during an argument has been given a life sentence after twice being convicted of murdering him. Emma Jane Magson alleged James Knight had been strangling her, so she stabbed him with a steak knife in self-defence. Now, I have spoke about this case before, and I have said, obviously it gets a bit sticky when someone calls self-defence, especially when, as you're going to see later on in the video, there is actual footage of James, apparently pushing her over. I'm not sure if he pushes her or he grabs her and it's more of a throw. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to put the video up in a minute so you can see that. They have actually released some CCTV, so we'll take a look at that in a second. She appealed against her conviction and had a retrial, but the jury did not accept her version of events. Magson has now been given the same minimum term, 17 years, the same term that she was originally given in 2016. The judge, Mr. Jeremy Baker, said what happened on the night Mr. Knight died is still not clear. As to the precise circumstances in which he came to inflict the fatal wound to James Knight's chest, these may never be fully known as there are no witnesses to the event, he told Magson while sentencing her. However, not only has the jury rejected the suggestion that this occurred in self-defence, but I'm sure that the account which you provided to the police in your prepared statement of being strangled by James Knight is untrue. Magson's appeal was aided by Justice for Women, the same group that helped Sally Challen appeal her conviction for murdering her abusive husband with a hammer. How did James Knight die? So for those of you that don't know, if you want to see how James Knight died and all the intricate details of the case, I'll leave a link in the description to the previous video and I'll put it up on the screen now. But we do have now a newly released video of James Knight pushing Emma Jane Magson into a car, causing her to fall to the ground. I'm going to play that now. Magson stabbed Mr. Knight in the chest with a steak knife at her home in Sylvan Street in Leicester in the early hours of 27th of March 2016, shortly after the video that you just saw. The couple had returned from a night out during which Magson had drunk large amounts of alcohol and Mr. Knight had drunk alcohol and taken cocaine. The judge said Mr. Knight had been behaving stupidly and somewhat aggressive as a result of the cocaine. At one point, telling a man no one was going to get his girl, Mr. Knight was asked to leave the bar. Police were called and they spoke to him. The couple then got a taxi home but started arguing, and the driver asked them to get out after Magson was seen kicking out at Mr. Knight. CCTV in Poole Road then captured Mr. Knight as he pushed Magson against a car, causing her to fall to the ground at about 12:45. Magson is thought to have stabbed Mr. Knight at her home between 1:10 and 1:30 in the morning. The steak knife penetrated his body to a depth of 11.5 centimetres as it passed through one of his lungs and into his pulmonary artery. In her evidence, Magson claimed she had grabbed the steak knife in self-defence because Mr. Knight had a hand around her neck and she could not breathe. While the jury did not accept this, the judge said there was no evidence Magson intended to kill Mr. Knight. Although I'm sure that you were motivated by anger towards Mr. Knight when you stabbed him, I accept that there is no sufficient evidence that you intended to kill him as opposed to causing him to suffer really serious bodily harm, the judge said. Now, the question on everyone's mind was the relationship abusive? Magson and Mr. Knight were in a relationship for about 6 months, having met around the end of September and the start of October 2015. The trial heard how the couple's relationship moved quickly. Mr. Knight moved in with Magson the day after they slept together. She soon became pregnant but then suffered a miscarriage. The judge described the relationship as being volatile and characterised by jealousy on both sides, verbal arguments, and some degree of physical violence. He said Magson was responsible for some of this violence, including striking Mr. Knight with a Hoover pipe and stabbing him in the chest with an item of cutlery. The court was told of text messages from Mr. Knight to Magson in which he repeatedly called her a slag. He also called her fat while she was pregnant with his child and told her to lose weight. Just want to say my own thing here. If you do that while your significant other is pregnant with your child and you call her fat, you are a fucking dickhead. I'm sorry, you're a dickhead. And you deserve to be called a dickhead. The real trial heard how Mr. Knight admitted to one of his friends that he had gone to strike Magson during the course of an argument. However, the judge was sure that he showed no further physical violence towards Magson. Jurors were also shown photos of red marks on Magson's neck, which her defence team claimed were caused when Mr. Knight strangled her. However, the judge said these red marks could have equally been caused when James Knight had pushed you into the car on Poole Road at an earlier point in the night. So, what did Magson do after the stabbing? The judge criticised Magson for not immediately calling an ambulance. She lied to his brother Kevin Knight, who lived in the same street, and suggested he had been beaten up by some bouncers in town. He believed her and helped Magson carry his brother back home, not realising he had been fatally wounded. In her evidence, Magson said I was just scared to say it was me, and I had caused the problem. I was terrified, obviously scared to admit to his brother that the reason he was like that was because of me. I didn't dare say that. After Kevin Knight left, Magson phoned 999 to ask for help, but did not say she was responsible for him being hurt. Instead, she said it looked as if he had been in a fight with someone. The judge said her actions were motivated by a desire to exculpate yourself from responsibility for his murder. However, he said there was no medical evidence as to the likelihood of his life being saved had he received prompt medical attention. So why was Magson convicted twice? Magson originally went on trial at Leicester Crown Court in 2016 and was found guilty and given a life sentence with a minimum term of 17 years. However, the conviction was quashed by the Court of Appeal and a retrial was ordered after it heard that evidence about her mental health was not put forward before the trial jury. Magson's retrial took place at Birmingham Crown Court. Jurors were unable to reach a unanimous verdict following the retrial, so she was convicted by a majority verdict of 10-2 on the 5th of March. When setting her new sentence, the judge explained he was not able to give a minimum term that exceeded the original one. He told Magson, "You may never be released, as that will only occur if and when the parole board is happy and satisfied that it is no longer necessary for the protection of the public that you should be confined. Even if you are released, you will remain on licence and be subject to recall for the remainder of your life." So how did Mr. Knight's family react? James Knight had 2 daughters from his previous relationship. In a statement, Mr. Knight's family said they were disappointed that Justice for Women felt there was enough evidence to support a retrial, bringing us back in court more than 4 years on. They added, their view to make Magson seem completely like the victim was wrong and unfair to James. They described Mr. Knight as a devoted father of 2 beautiful girls, a loving son, brother and uncle, as well as a friend to so many. We remember James as a very happy, bouncy young man who made everyone's day brighter, with a smile that was infectious, something no one will ever be able to forget, and something we will always treasure. Justice for Women said they were disappointed by the majority verdict, adding the case highlighted a public lack of understanding of the dynamics of abusive relationships and the way in which women in abusive relationships tend to be perceived in the criminal justice system. I just want to take this time to quickly say a few things of my own opinion. I want to start off by saying rest in peace, Mr. Knight, as obviously this is a horrendous crime and all my deepest condolences go to his family. I also want to say as well, I hope Emma Jane Magson can get the help that she really needs in prison if she is suffering from all these horrible mental afflictions, as mental health can be one of the worst health conditions to have. I also want to say thank you for all the love recently on the videos and thank you for sharing them as well. It means a lot to not only me but also the victim's family, as it helps bring more awareness to these cases. Thank you and goodbye.